I just got back last night from a conference that was specifically geared towards naturopaths, homeopaths, people in holistic healthcare, natural and holistic healthcare. I learned so much because you want to know who the presenters were? I learned a lot, but I wouldn't say that I learned things that weren't already floating around in my consciousness or my awareness. Here's the thing. There are so many presenters were MDs, medical doctors. Okay, these are going to be your general practitioners. These are going to be people that are your ER doctors, more allopathic Western medicine model taught. I would say about half, I think, of the presenters were MDs. And I found it really fascinating because this specific company that was putting it on is a company that sells homeopathic remedies, nutraceuticals, so very much in the holistic side of healthcare. And I was kind of on the fence about going, but you guys, I've got so much to share with you. If you are not already following me on TikTok, please go find, there is a 10-part series of just what I learned at this conference. And not to deter you, but if you're already listening to a podcast or watching this on YouTube, like some of these are 5 to 7 minutes long. Like they are full-blown trainings, some of them, because it really brought into my awareness here's things that I've already known that are happening that are basically being confirmed by science and being put into practice in, again, traditional, quote unquote, Western medicine practices. A couple of things. One, there was so much talk, and I think such a huge shift. The shift in the way that we're looking at medicine has gone from your blood is this way, or there was a lot of people would say, well, it's your genes and stuff like that. And we're really starting to understand and starting to become a lot more fluid in the language that we use, because that's not true. A lot of things are not in your genes. It's not that you have a specific gene that makes something happen. It's actually that you have a gene that can be expressed or not expressed. And something that I learned in this conference that I found really fascinating is that it actually takes some pressure for the gene to express itself. What creates pressure in the body, do you think? Okay. What do you think creates pressure? What do you think creates change? Information from the nervous system. Okay, telling a muscle to contract or to relax. Same thing that's happening when you digest. Same thing that's happening when the heart is pumping, right? Those are all systems and functions of the nervous system, right? Not ones that are voluntary when you're talking about the pump of the heart, the digestion of the food, but that is press and release, right? So interestingly enough, when we're experiencing pressure from outside of us, where do we think it comes in that it would change genetic expression? Typically, it's actually coming from the neural connections in the brain that are creating these continuous pushes, right? Or shifts, or again, pressure. I don't know how else to describe it, but that to adapt to our environment. Okay. And this is coming from a perceived sense of fear or threat or something like that says, hey, you should upregulate this gene. This will help me survive. We're actually seeing this. There was a study done on a lot of people with autoimmune disorders. I believe, I can't remember the specific autoimmune disorders, but I want to say something like POTS and possibly like Hashimoto's. A lot of people that have ancestors that are of Irish descent, that their ancestry went through the Great Potato Famine, which was not actually a famine. It was actually an orchestrated, I don't want to get into politics. Again, there's so many times when I'm like, oh, I could go on the tangent of there's so much more to this. Basically, food was restricted by England. So it wasn't necessarily a famine, but we could almost go and say genocide, but we'll be careful there. A lot of these things are pressure being created by the environment to change. So much interesting things. That was some of the things that I learned. Some of the other things that I learned were actually about, and this has kind of been my theory, so it was really cool to see other people, not only one, seeing it in their practice as well, but confirming with, hey, we've done some studies. This is some research that we've been working on because of A, B, and C. We all are familiar with Wi-Fi. We're familiar with Bluetooth. Those are all electromagnetic fields. We also have an electromagnetic field. In fact, every single cell in your body has its own electromagnetic field. And I want you to think of this field more like a blueprint. This field is full of information. And so when you think about that in Wi-Fi and how it extends, that we're so concerned about EMF exposure. We're so concerned, and they're like, oh, it's terrible. Don't get me wrong, it is bad, but I think you need to have a deeper understanding of that one and how it's actually affecting your biology too. So one, when you go out in nature and you have no Wi-Fi signal, how does your body feel? Your body feels pretty good, right? All of a sudden you can take a deep breath. You're so relaxed. You'd sleep so deep. You feel refreshed, all of those things. Why is that? So part of that is removing yourself from this soup, right? Soup has a lot of different ingredients in it. Sometimes it has vegetables. Sometimes it has some meat in there. Or maybe you crush up some chips or crackers or something like that, put it in there. It's a soup. Lots of ingredients. And you get out of everything, and now you're just in broth. You're just in boiled water, right? There's a lot less that's influencing you. We have grown and adapted according to the Schumann resonance, the frequency that is emitted by the earth. We have also adapted with all of the other things of nature that are not man-made and their frequencies. Okay? Now, what's happened is as we value technology and we've valued convenience, we've introduced all of these things like Wi-Fi, like Bluetooth, all of the ones that are changing have a field, have their own, their radio wave frequencies, all of those things are affecting you. Okay. Now, because when people are like, those aren't real, or I could go into kind of the crystalline structure and things like that. I'm like, what do you think your fucking phone is? How do you think it works? Clear quartz in your phone. That's how your phone works. That's also how you can see things on your screen. Okay? Just because you don't have awareness of this technology doesn't mean somebody else does. And just because it relates to something you are unfamiliar with does not mean it's wrong. So careful, keyboard warriors. Sometimes you're just not very educated. And again, there are people that are spreading misinformation. I'm not saying that they're not. But when you receive a text message, what do you think that travels through? Frequency. Wi-Fi. What do you think that is? So you are using frequency technology all the time. Every time you turn on a TV, every time you listen to the radio, you listen to something on your phone, you're using frequency all the time. So what happens when you go out in nature and you remove yourself from all of these different fields and variations in strength, you're allowing your body to retune to the frequency of the earth. This is often why sometimes people who live in cities become a lot more EMF sensitive. It's not that, it's not real. It is very real. But a lot of these people's terrain, their body all the time, their blood, their elimination system, what is going on internally inside their body is a lot more sensitive because of either some type of breakdown, long-term dissonance within the body, cells not behaving like they're supposed to, they're not being able to detox and things like that through their drainage pathways. So then when they're introduced to EMF or again, even things like fluorescent lighting, that is not full spectrum. It is a very small spectrum of light. When that is happening and you're in a casino all day long, okay, so you're always under overhead lighting that's fluorescent lighting. Also, when you think about the constant sound, if you're in a casino, or you think about the smells when you're a casino, and this can be anything. This could be any job. Fluorescent lighting in an office, it doesn't really matter. But you're not getting full spectrum light. Your cells have adapted, and when people joke about us being more complicated, just kind of a more complicated plant, we essentially are. All of our cells, almost every single cell in the body has its own circadian clock. Okay? And it does things at certain times. Then what it's picking up on to do on the time at a certain time is because of how it's attuned to full spectrum light that is given out by the sun. Okay, so these are things that I already knew, and it was really cool to have it confirmed in conferences and in this conference and see so many speakers talking about it. But the people who are EMF sensitive and why, people are worried about a lot of these things is because long term, what's happening is that we are becoming we've heavily relied so much on and been so thrilled by advancements in technology, advancements in medicine, advancements in science, conveniences, all of those kinds of things. Look how much better it's making our life. Look how much easier it's making our life. The downside is that with convenience, you are often taking away some of the things that actually make it more beneficial. Okay? So when you have convenience of food and you need to make it shelf stable, what are you getting rid of? You're getting rid of some of the things that actually are the body needs. I can't have it molding, right? That would ruin my product. That would ruin shelf stability. So I need to put things in it that make it more shelf stable. Well, when that happens and you start to alter this, the body does not recognize it anymore. Just like in where EMF and you walk away and you go someplace where you don't have cell signal anymore, and your body is like, oh yeah, I remember this. And it starts to relax and the parasympathetic nervous system starts to come back online more fully, things like that. This is kind of the same thing that's happening with food. So your body is not recognizing what food is, whether you believe that or not. It is very real, okay? All of these bacteria that are in your gut that are digesting your food, it is not the same. When your food is constantly full of preservatives, when your food is more fake food than real food, what do you think does the body know how to behave? No, but it's going to adapt. And that's what happens in Wi-Fi as well. We're adapting to what we're in all the time, even if it's making us sick. So right now we're experiencing an explosion of chronic disease and disorders. This is literally it's funny because I'm like, when I did my PhD research project, I did it on the effects of spinal energetics on those with autoimmune disorders for this reason. Okay, I did a whole episode on that. So if you want, you can scroll back through. I think it was sometime last summer or fall, right around. So not too far back. But when we are having an expression of an autoimmune disorder, so right, we got Hashimoto's, we've got pandas, we've got rheumatoid arthritis, we've got Sjorgensen's, we've got, oh my gosh, the list goes on and on. It's a very long list. I can't remember off the top of my head how many technical autoimmune disorders there are now, but I would say there's somewhere around 80 plus possibly. I could be wrong, but when I did my research project, it was using spinal energetics and how it actually changed the body. Now, spinal energetics is not something where I'm physically manipulating the person. So it's not like a chiropractic adjustment. It is very light touch. In fact, it is just acupressure points that I'm touching. I'm assessing, when you come in person, I'm assessing feet, and I'm looking for a lot of what the assessment is telling me what part of the spine the major tension pattern is. When there's a major tension pattern, it means there's something coming from the nervous system that is telling that area to hold tighter, create tension. What is tension? Pressure. What does the DNA need to change its expression? Pressure. Okay, are you following a little bit? So once I find where the major point is physically, then I also feel for where it is in your field, your electromagnetic field around your body. It has several layers. So then I'm feeling for resonance within the field. This is something that is trained. You can train to feel. I'm not special, or I am special, but I'm not special, You can feel for this too. You can be trained to feel for it. I think everybody has the ability. I think everybody has intuitive abilities, and clairvoyance is, the clairs. It's like a muscle. Anything that you develop, anything that you spend time learning, anything that, practice and practice and practice gets more and more sensitive and attuned. So this was essentially a nervous system regulation technique, but something where they were actually instructed to not do very much. So this is not shaking, like voluntary shaking. This is not breathing a specific way. This is in no way am I asking them to change anything about themselves. other than cues that come into the body I'm telling you to listen to. So in spinal energetics, when you see people move and things like that, that's not, it feels like the urge to stretch. That's not that they want to stretch their arm or they want to make this movement or they're trying to, do something. It's actually that there's this desire for movement, just like when you feel angry and you want to shake your fists, but you might suppress it. Essentially what we're doing is we're opening up a loop in a safe environment that the nervous system is holding and allow it to finish processing that loop. So then the body can integrate it and move on. So it's no longer as emotionally sensitive and triggering or reactive. My whole research project was actually on how changes in the electromagnetic field, even though it's through spinal energetics, affects those with autoimmune disorders. So when I went to this conference, I was like, hell yeah, these are my people. These are my people. It was all different types of practitioners, naturopaths, again, MDs. We had an MD who he taught on concussions, which was really fascinating. And again, how the brain and the nervous system interpret the experience and how it, they say rest for 2 weeks. And if you're feeling okay, you're like good to go. And he's like, it's so much more than that because there is all these other things. I learned a lot more about Lyme and co-infections and how a lot of times people with trauma, and not just physical trauma, but emotional trauma, will have these infections because it alters the terrain. So I want you to think of your terrain as literally everything inside of your body. So all of the operations inside of the body is the internal terrain or internal environment, as I like to call it. I always call everything outside of your body your external environment. And the field or your electromagnetic field around your body is kind of that bridge. It's what's taking this field around this, it's kind of like a sensing organ. This field around you, think of it like a cell membrane. It's feeling for things. It has and can, because the what used to be thought that like hormones would connect to like cells on the outside of the cells and it was like a lock and key mechanism and it would go in is now been disproven. It's more of a pump. And this changes. The pump opens or closes based on an electrical charge. Again, energy. Haha. Again, there it shows up. And in one of the talks, she actually spoke how basically we are like under mineralized. And so then our cells aren't functioning as well. So I learned a ton about mold, Lyme, Epstein-Barr, EBV, herpes, mold, like all of these different kinds of molds, how they're like hiding in things and why often co-infections like hang out together in certain areas. And every single one of them, every single MD or other presenter talks about how emotions, okay, because we do a lot of emotional work. When you come to me, my formula, or I always call it my formula, but my theory and my process is different. A lot of people start with the physical stuff. And so it was interesting to talk to a lot of people. And I was like, now that I've talked to a lot of you, I realized I've always been doing it in reverse and getting great results. So what I've been doing is starting more in what is your belief systems like? What are the thoughts that you think? What are the beliefs that are passed down to you? What are you feeling? Emotions, things like this. What are some of the things that you're working through? Okay, now also tell me some of the physical stuff. And then we start to look at where, again, traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurveda and other Eastern practices start to marry the organs with emotions. And so when people come in, I'm like, okay, if you have asthma, you have a lot of grief. If you have allergies, you're holding on to a lot of grief. This is not something that I'm like is new, really. It's that understanding that emotions have always impacted the physical body. And because you're holding tension there, it's creating pressure. So that pressure in some of those cells long-term is changing and altering some of the gene expression, epigenetics. So there's so many different pieces. And in TikTok, I literally have a 10-part series. I want to say if anybody is finding this now and it's because you found me on TikTok, hi, hello. I'm so happy you're here. We talk about energy and health and business and the intersection of all of it, because I don't feel like you can be a good business person if your health is in the toilet. And I don't feel like your health can be really good if your spirit is in the toilet. So like, it's got to all work together, right? I posted, this was my experience. Okay. So I go in and I was telling somebody the other day, I've been using a lot of this particular conference. I've been using a lot of their emotional remedies. So again, it's a homeopathic company that's putting on this conference. And I've been using a lot of their emotional remedies because again, my clients are coming in and they're like, okay, I've, they've got a lot of stuff going on in their chest, their lungs, asthma, things like this. I'm working on a couple of points. I was like, oh, you need the grief remedy. We're opening up your lung point, things like that. Okay, somebody's experiencing a lot of PTSD. They're experiencing, they just got in a car accident. They just, or they're getting a divorce. They just had a really traumatic birth experience, like something like that. I'm like, girl, you have PTSD. Most of my clients are women. I do have some men, but majority is women. I believe women's fields are a lot more sensitive. So if you disagree, that's totally fine. But I see it in my practice and a lot of other people's practices as well. I feel like men wait until their wheels are literally falling off, and women are like, I hear a little something going on. They're just a lot more sensitive, a lot more attuned. That's from a long time of having to be more emotionally attuned, so they're just a little bit more aware. So anyways, people are coming in and they're like, hey, I went through this traumatic experience. I'm giving them the PTSD or the stress remedy. Again, if they have increases of stress in their life, I'm like, you need to be taking this. So my approach has always kind of been starting there. So we start with typically, I'm giving you meridian openers and emotional work first. So we want to open up the energetic and emotional pathway that is not allowing clear communication to get to that organ, which is causing physical symptoms. So usually we start there. We start with nervous system work. We start with what's going on. Again, what is, typically this kind of thing or this kind of thing is a mom thing or a dad thing, like this comes from this side or this side. And then we start to work on, okay, if these are all of your symptoms, this is your diagnosis, this is some of my protocols for this. Okay, let's work on opening your drainage pathways. Okay, let's work on, then we move on to some of the more in-depth stuff. But it always, to me, started, again, this is kind of like where I love that I'm like, I've never been afraid to do things different. I've never been afraid to be like, hey, so I'm having a little like psychic moment. Hope you're okay with this. Your guides just told me, blah, blah, blah. I actually had somebody today that their guide came in to her session and started fucking with my music. And I think I've told this story on the podcast before, that my speaker is very sensitive to my energy. And if somebody has a spirit guide in the room that like needs a message to come through. So my speaker starts going fucking crazy. It was totally fine until this person came in and sat down, and it started literally as soon as her session, we're chatting for about 20 minutes. Beforehand, we see each other quite often. We've gone a couple of weeks. We're doing a little catch up. She lays down. As soon as she lays down, it is literally like, whoop. I can't even really get any of the music. I know the melody of it, so I can tell that it's like staying on track. But I was like, oh my gosh, this stupid speaker. I'm so annoyed. And then I'm like, so and so, who I know is their spirit guide. I'm like, please stop. This is not relaxing. I'm kind of joking in my mind about it. I'm not saying it out loud. Because a lot of these things I don't always say out loud because it could be disrupting or distracting. And I don't want to have to explain like all the stuff with spirit guides. We can do that after like stuff has come through. And I'm like, please, they're going through a lot. They've got a lot of stress. This is distracting. And literally I was told, I'll stop when she needs me to stop. All right, cool. And I've already told this person that this has happened because this has happened before when she comes in. This is this particular spirit guide. It's happening. I get to the point in the field in her session where she has the most amount of tension and I can feel it. All of a sudden it feels like it yanks from her body. That's what it feels like to me. The music goes smooth. That's the point. Anchor it in. We move on. The entire session, not a problem. In my mind, I spoke to this person telepathically or energetically, whatever you want to call it. Talked to their guide and I was like, hey, knock it off. And they're like, I'll leave when she, like, at the point that I know that she needs it. All right, cool. It was exactly the moment that I hit her point of tension in her field. almost brought me to damn tears. And like, I think if I can't hide that part of my practice. And then what happened was during this conference, just for like a little background on business stuff. Okay. So on TikTok the other day, well, no, this was about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I hit 10,000 followers. Yay. So excited. You're all here. And for the most part, it's people that I have one video that has a lot of, I've talked about this in a past episode, but I kind of played around with some psychology marketing. One of those things, if you say something slightly wrong, or it's like the difference between saying like roof and they think that you should say it the other way, that it stops people. They want to correct you. They want to feel smart. It's actually about them. It's not about you. And so I played around with a couple of things during this time. And I said something, same word, but I pronounced it in a different way. Honestly, I think it's almost at 1 million views now or something like that, which is crazy. And so anyways, like for the most part, other than that video where we have people that are just like, she can't even say something right, and have like stupid shit to say. Like they're all really wonderful people. Love my TikTok community over there. But I hit 10K, which you then are qualified if you hit 10K and you have these other parameters to be able to be entered into it's called the Creator Rewards Program. Okay, so for like business people, that you might value this. For people who are only here for the health stuff, hang tight. It's only for a minute, but it's important. So I'm learning all of all of these. It's like having all of the puzzle pieces that are like just about right. And you can like see the picture kind of like a Monet, right? Like up close, you're like, there's like a lot of dots and I can kind of see how it fits. But it's all of a sudden like I zoomed out, could see the full Monet and like knew where to put all the puzzle pieces. That's kind of what happened for me this weekend, which was really cool because there were so many ways that I was like, I can feel like I want to do my practice differently than this person's, even though we're technically doing the same thing. I don't want it like that. And I can see how all of these things are fitting together, but I just can't seem to get the fucking puzzle pieces right. So anyways, fast forward or back to the TikTok thing, I hit 10K, apply for this Creator Rewards Program, which means I get paid. I'm very open and honest about this stuff. I get paid then for views for videos that are over a minute long for every like 1,000 people that watch it over that minute. Great, cool, because I'm a yapper. Why do you think I started a podcast? This is perfect for me. I'm like, great. So I get accepted into this program. Right away, my views tank. And I'm talking, I was getting like couple of 100, couple of 1,000 views. So nothing crazy, but it tanks to like 67 views, maybe 100 on a good day, 205. Like I was like, what the freak, man? I was so irritated because I was like, here I'm making these videos that are getting 9,000, 8,000, 15,000 views that are a minute long and people are watching them and I don't get paid for them because it was prior to this. And now I'm not getting, like, it was just like one of those things where you're like, oh, like you dangled the carrot and now I'm irritated. So I was kind of like taking a break from TikTok for the past few weeks because I was just irritated that I'm putting this effort into education and training and connection and things like that. And again, it's like, you kind of have to, give it up to the algorithm gods and say, I'm going to send my message out and whatever. But again, because I felt like I was trying to put all these pieces together, it also felt like one of those like almost roadblock type of feelings. So I just kind of backed off. So after the first day, I have tons of notes because first day presenters, you guys, oh my gosh, should I go back through and like tell you what they present on? It was freaking so good. They presented on pandas. They presented on, here, let me see if I can. Yeah, pandas, applying traditional Chinese medicine to like homeopathic protocols. That one was phenomenal. This is a roadmap. Another one was for like troubleshooting things like Lyme, mold, multi-system toxicity, things like that. So really intense. Another one for like post-viral symptoms. So long COVID, all of that kind of stuff. That was day one. And I have several clients in my office right now who are coming to me for spinal energetics because they're experiencing long COVID and they're at a loss. I have one friend who has come to me a couple of times for spinal energetics because she's gone to, I always say, I was like, I feel like you've seen every ologist. She has seen every single person. She even got accepted into the UCLA program for long COVID. And they're like, yeah, there's not really much that we can actually do for you. Like, we suggest you finding like alternative remedies. And her and I were already talking about some things, but I was like, I don't want you to start something and that change some. I know that you're looking forward to that because you got into this UCLA program and I know how important that is to you. And of course you want to get better, but you also think that this might be the magic key. And I don't want anything to like mess with that. Because again, mindset is important. If you think this is going to help you, then that is also a key in your healing. And that's also a key component. But basically, everybody's like, I don't know how to help you. So I have all of these clients that have complex conditions. I've done my research project on autoimmune disorders. So the complexity that is the neurological component, the nervous system component, the immune system component, the multi-system, the, again, complex part of these people that are coming to me that literally can't. I have a client who she's so sensitive. She's sensitive to EMF. It makes her sick. She can't take almost anything. It got to a point where she could actually take no like supplements. She has to be very, very careful on her diet because her nervous system is so sensitive. Everything is a threat and it triggers mast cell activation, all of those kinds of things. Autonomia, you guys, that is a lot of people that are seeking out these therapies because the Western medical system is like, I don't know what to do with you. I don't actually have answers. I can only help you with symptoms. And even that, like, oh, I don't know. So they're reaching out to these people. So I'm like, I got a ton of notes. I got a ton of like great little snippets. I'm like, okay, I just decided I'm going to sit down. I'm going to record this. I was like, I'm going to record just like snippets that I learned because I feel like these are valuable. And that's a lot of what my TikTok is like, here's things that you didn't know. Here's things you can apply to. That's kind of always been my content. Anyways, so it wasn't like, it didn't feel like a marketing ploy or like anything. I record 3 videos that are, one is like 7 minutes long, the other one, which is long. You can listen on double speed, by the way, on TikTok, if you didn't know that. And I'm like, okay, I record it. I'm like, I'm going to post this one tonight. It's late at this point. It, is like 10 o'clock or so. It's taking forever to load captions. Their Wi-Fi was terrible, if I'm being honest. And so then it wouldn't load. It took like an hour to upload to TikTok. It took a long time for captions to be loaded. So I was just kind of over it. Like I recorded these 3 because I was so amped about what I was learning and so amazed to hear so many MDs talk about how things like dental work, heavy metals, parasites, electromagnetic fields, how all of that is actually changing the way that the body is responding to things, which is why we're having a rise in all these chronic things, all these chronic conditions. And I was like, yes, this is what I've been talking about. They're talking about how like I had so many clients who, until you feel safe, until your nervous system downregulates and utilizes the parasympathetic more, that they're not healing. So they would send them for nervous system work first and then bring them back to do all of the physical stuff, to do the detoxing and the drainage and the, balancing and whatever else they were doing. And I was like, yes. Like, this is my vibe. This is what I'm in on. So again, passionate talking like I am right now. Hope you can feel it or see it through the screen. And I take an hour and a half to upload this one fucking video. And I'm like annoyed. I'm not annoyed, but I'm like, of course, he gives me low views. Here I am just like trying to help a sister out. Like, I'm just like, I'm just like sharing. And like, it's always just annoying when tech doesn't work to me. I'm like, ugh, so inconvenience, I just leave it, set it and forget it. Because again, I haven't posted in weeks. Probably 2 or 3 weeks, or if I did, it was like a quick little like 7-second something. And I'm annoyed, so I'm not getting any views, so I'm not really worried about it. So I didn't check my TikTok again until, because I'm like, oh, maybe I'll upload now. We had like a break. I think this was, I don't know, around like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon that following day on a Saturday. And I open it up, and the current views on this one video is at 16,000. And it's climbing. It's right now like 68,000. This is like 2 days later. And it has over 100 comments. It has hundreds of saves. I have now gained an extra like 1,500 followers or something like that. I'm like, whoa, I am blown away. The comment section. So if you are here from TikTok, like I want you to understand, like, I went through and like I didn't look at everybody's profile, but I was like, I want to remember this moment. Like, this has happened before. This is like nothing new, but like to be something that like, it basically is just talking about how I'm like so thrilled that quantum biology is being recognized by mainstream practitioners more. Essentially, like if I were to break down everything, that's kind of what it says. You go listen. I think it's fabulous, but I'm like so pumped about it. I'm so excited. I'm like just looking at everybody. I'm like, wow, because there's all these comments that are like, yes, somebody's finally saying this. Like, I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for sharing this. I learned so much. And they're like, please continue with the series. Like, blah, blah, blah. Like, wonderful people in my comments. There's always a few like eye rolls or whatever. But like, it is literally like one eye roll to every like 300, like, we're here for this. And I'm on cloud nine of like, I feel like a while ago, I said, hey, like, I was like, I'm creating this program where it's going to be an app where people could like search their symptoms, things like that. And I kept getting a lot of pushback of just like it feeling really hard and it feeling really like, just like I had a lot of resistance. Like, but I was like, oh, this is such a good idea. And I just like, and then I basically launched it kind of as this like membership. And once I launched it, I realized how inefficient it would be that way, that it needed to be an app. And I was like, oh, I got to go recreate everything. And I was like so annoyed. So I basically pulled it off. And that's kind of where I was like, I see all these pieces, but I just can't see, like, I can't see the full Monet yet. Okay. And so I feel like I'm going to this conference and these puzzles are coming together. And I asked my spirit guides, show me there, because it was beautiful, but I didn't see a ton of birds, which I know that sounds weird, but like I also live in a desert and there wasn't a lot of like birds or like flowering plants because it was in Scottsdale, Arizona. I live in Las Vegas. And usually when I'm on the right path for business stuff, I always see hummingbirds and I don't see them by flowers. This is the important part. I always see them in like the middle of where they shouldn't be. I see them often when I'm driving down the street and they will literally be looking at me dead center in the middle of the street. I will be reading and they will like come up to me. I will see them sitting, holding still. Like they are never by a flower, which I find fascinating. I should really ask my guides why that is. I'm like, there's something to it, but I haven't put it together yet or spent much time thinking about it. But this is always my sign. And I'm like, show me this weekend if I'm supposed to move. Give me a sign. I'm going to need a signiest sign you got for like what direction I'm supposed to move. Like I have all of this business knowledge. I have all these business courses that have helped a lot of people that I really love, manifestation courses, all this kind of stuff. But I also have this like burning passion for energy and specific work. Like I don't necessarily like, I don't want to work, like, I don't want to be an herbalist and like work in herbs. You know what? I want to work on the electromagnetic signature of the herb. What is that? And I want to give that to you. Okay. Like, I don't want to give the herb. Like, I recognize, like, I like a lot of that stuff. I'm into it and I have a lot of knowledge in that. Homeopathy always really interests me because it is literally that. It is taking a part of something and because water holds frequency, it's imprinting the frequency or the essence. And I mean, this is kind of just a really broad overview of it, but the frequency or the essence into its carrier, typically distilled water, sometimes alcohol. Both of them will hold it. So this is why I think it's fascinating. Basically, you're encouraging your body to do what it already knows how to do. And I'm like, this is my passion. This is my purpose. So I'm like, okay, send me the signiest sign you got. Okay, guys, you hear me up there? I'm not kidding you. I'm sitting at dinner and above there, again, there's not really many flowers. I did see like one bougainvillea that had about like 6 flowers on it. But there's a lot of green shrubbery, but not a ton of flowering shrubs, which is obviously what hummingbirds need. They need the nectar. They need to be able to get their little beak in there. And there's this like beautiful archway that is like one of the tables is sitting under for like dinner. And there's like some palm trees. And I look up and literally looking right at me up by this archway is a hummingbird. And just kind of standing there. I mean, not standing there. He's flying. But he kind of looks, staring at me. There's not another one around. It's not by any flowers. And I'm like, okay, I see you. It happens again. I'm sitting in a different direction. I'm sitting at a different table. I look up the next night. There's another one. Again, not by any flowers. This is really important. It's like these are never where they should be, so it doesn't make sense. Okay? So I'm like, okay, this Monet is coming together. I'm loving this. I have this like formula, this method that I've been thinking about and kind of like trying to piece together. And all of these pieces are really lining up as to why this needs to be and helping my brain process and so that I can explain it to my clients. And I'm like so thrilled. And I feel like what's happening on TikTok is people are seeing that. And this is why it's so important to be able to do the things that you love to do, to lean into those things that feel right, to follow those nudges, to listen to the little signs, okay, the hummingbirds or whatever it is for you. Because when you don't, and you overthink it, or you feel like you need to rationalize something, you miss things that are for you. I made incredible connections. We talked business. We talked our practices. There were so many great moments and so much that I got from this conference that allows me to put it into, it was like it's like I had all the puzzle pieces and I was trying to fit them together, but they weren't sliding together. Like, it's like you think that it fits and you're like, just right. Like, it's not just right. And so this weekend, it was like I could see how all of the pieces needed to fit together. I'm still offering business mentorship, things like that, but it's a piece of my business. I recognize so much of what I'm here for is to teach you quantum biology, to help you understand more about frequency medicine, to help other holistic practitioners be able to share their medicine, because the amount of people in that conference that were scared of social media, that were scared to start a podcast, that were scared to kind of do all of these things that would stretch them and expose them. And sometimes that's the stretch. It's not necessarily always getting the knowledge, but it's being seen. It's being willing to put yourself on TikTok and have complete strangers either say really wonderful things about what you're talking about or honestly fucking hate you and be like, okay, well, those aren't my people. And they don't want my help anyways, clearly. Like, it's fine. And it's like, these are the things that I think so many of us miss, is that when you're being pushed towards this, I almost didn't go to this conference because I had booked another travel like the weekend after. And I was like, oh, this feels like a lot. This is my husband's really busy time. The kids are doing, kids got stuff going on. And I was like, again, I'm really only using a small portion of some of their products. I love a lot of this other stuff. I use it at home. I actually love their beef collagen. It is literally like it's beef collagen, cacao, monk fruit. That's it. It is so good for a lot of people. It digests really well, especially if you're okay with monk fruit. That's totally fine. It tastes great. I use a lot of their homeopathics for myself, for my family. And the emotional remedies have worked really, really well for my clients. And I was like, well, how do I incorporate this into some of my more complex cases? And I've had a lot of them come to me recently, and I've felt a little, not to say stuck, but it's almost like I needed that confirmation. And so sometimes when things don't really make sense, but you're being pulled towards stuff, there's a reason you're being pulled in that direction. Look at that. This is like a prime example. Again, this was going to this weekend cost me money to go to. Not only to stay there, the hotel was beautiful, stunning, but also to go to the conference. Like, food was provided for us like during the conference, but it's like gas or travel and all of that, and time away from your patients, your family, your friends, like all of those things. Like, it takes something of you to go to places sometimes that you need to go to expand. And that's what this felt like to me. This is some place that I needed to go to expand because it helped put those puzzle pieces together. And when you're being called to something and when you're being pulled in a direction, the more that you resist it, it will continue to show up. But sometimes not in the way, it shows up in a different way. So it might be like, okay, well, you had to take a detour over here, so now we got to take 2 more detours to get back. And I'm not saying that sometimes then you have to take the long way or you missed your shot. It's nothing like that. I think everything finds you when you're ready for it. But I do want you to understand that the pull towards things is important, and to ask for signs. Lean into those things that light you up. Be okay with being in the in-between. I've been in the in-between for quite a while now. I would say since October, November, I've really been in this. So 5 months, I've kind of been in this weird in-between of like, again, like, I'm like, okay, some of these, my client, getting a lot more clients with complex issues. They've gone to other people. Nobody can really help them. They are tired of being on 500 supplements. They're not even sure what ones are working anymore. And that's the idea with homeopathy, is that you use it for a while to encourage your body to finish that healing response so that you can pull back off it and let your body maintain. Now, you might have to come back to it every once in a while. But the idea is that the body starts to regulate itself. It encourages the body to find resonance. And again, that is frequency medicine. And so I was like, I see so much potential in how this could help my clients and help the people that are coming to me, finding me. And it was just like so many confirmations, the hummingbirds, the like blowing up on TikTok. So that video is at almost 70,000. Another one is like 16,000. A couple others are like 10,000-ish, like 8, 9, somewhere right in there. And it's like, again, it's a 10-part series. I haven't even finished posting all of them yet. And they're very long. People are watching them all the way through. Like something like I looked on one of the videos, and it was something about 25% finished the entire video, which is kind of unheard of. And it being it's like 5 minutes and like 54 seconds or something like that. It's super long. And to watch the whole duration. So it's not just about like the view, because the view will count after literally them just viewing it for 1 or 2 seconds. It counts. But to get that level of duration means people are listening. And to get all the comments that are like, yes, like, and resonating with it, it just feels so good, to be honest, of like, these are the things that I'm already implementing that I'm seeing incredible results with. And to feel almost that confirmation that, yes. And it wouldn't have happened if I wouldn't have stretched myself, because it definitely felt like a stretch to go this weekend. Pulling away from my business, pulling away from my family, like my sweet husband, like he was slammed this weekend. My kids had a lot of stuff going on. I honestly, like, I think I've shared on here before that I took up ceramics. Like, I need to put handles on my pots, you guys. And I know that sounds really silly, but like there's drying times and stuff like that. Like, it's very time intensive. And like, you have to be like, there's all these steps by the time a ceramic piece comes out and it's to sell or to give or whatever. And those are timed by like the drying of the clay. So I'm like, oh man, I gotta get my pots but like they're gonna be too dry, and then I can't put my handle on. I'm gonna have to get them wet. I don't know, there's so many things. I missed out on some friend stuff, like, and I'm so glad I listened to my intuition, because I really went back and forth for probably, this was like right around January. I was like, this just seems like way too much, all within like 10 days. And I was like, I just, you know what? I think I'm going to go. And I finally like really made the decision like 3 weeks ago that, okay, I'm going, like I'm committed. It's fine, because I could still cancel the hotel and I could sell my ticket really to somebody, a practitioner. And so I was like, oh, no big deal. But I was like, no, like my spirit, my soul, my spirit guides, like the nudge was there. Just do it, just do it, just do it. And I'm so happy that I did. So this episode is really to remind you that, one, you are more than just your symptoms. If somebody says they don't know how to help you, keep asking for help. Be your own advocate. Okay? Dig. There are people out there who are doing things differently, who are thinking differently, who are deconstructing what the medical system looks like. And, there is options out there for you. You have to, though, believe that your body can heal. And if you're being called towards something, if you're being nudged towards something, if something is pulling at your heart, it is for you. And never, ever forget that. Even if it's hard or uncomfortable, sometimes those moments where you're being stretched or where you're going to learn the most, they feel like that first. Don't be afraid of that feeling of the unknown, because there can be something really great on the other side. I love you all. I am so glad you're here. If you are a new listener, a new follower, I don't really call them followers. That feels weird to me. Those are my people. This is my community. These are my friends. And I'm just really, really happy you're here. So until next time, cheers, everybody.